A few. A few. Let's get into it. A few good movies. A few. A good. A few. Good. A few. Let's get into it. A few good movies.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this Halloween special Saturday episode of A Few Good Movies.
Weird.
Wait, we finally made it through October.
I have a quick joke.
Oh, I like it. Start with a joke.
What does a dead librarian say?
What?
Books.
Okay. All right. We'll cut that.
All right.
If you're not watching the YouTube version of this, you should be, because we are all in costume right now, getting in the spirit. I'll tell you. I'll tell you if you're not visually seeing it right now that I am a bloody zombie cop that isn't necessarily from Walking Dead, but when I bought it like 5 years ago, everyone thought it was from The Walking Dead, but it's just a generic version of it.
And we didn't coordinate any of this.
Didn't coordinate, but Chris is also looking spiffy right now.
I am Negan from The Walking Dead because I needed an excuse to wear this expensive leather jacket that I've had for a year and I've only worn twice.
You got to be burning up. You got gloves on.
I'm
got
warm.
A scarf on.
Yeah, it's warm.
I mean, you're really going for it there. And you could just wear that. I mean, minus
that is a dope jacket.
Yeah, minus that bat. You could just be wearing that. Yeah, check it out.
I got pants on too. I had like biker boots, but you can't see them.
Yeah.
You wore them though just to complete the character, didn't you?
I have pictures. If you follow us on social media, you can see those pictures.
Everyone's gonna jump on that.
If anyone's confused on what I am a carrot. It looks better when I'm standing because the end is a little is like V shaped at the end. But yeah, I've been a carrot several times for Halloween. I don't really like dressing up, and this is the only one that I really dig. So.
This one has just stuck with you. I mean, what is it about the carrot that
well,
really speaks
originally,
to you?
I mean, I always just first of all, carrots are pretty good, right? They're pretty healthy vegetables.
Oh, healthy for you.
I just had carrots tasty. Actually.
Yeah, but years
Fun
and years
fact
ago,
from Chris.
I'm a huge South Park fan, as some of you know. And they did this bit where Rob Schneider would be like, they're making fun of him because all his movies were like, he's a hot chick and he's an animal. So they made fun of they sort of like made fun of that and said like, oh, he's a stapler and he's a carrot. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. I'll be a carrot.
So it's a real deep cut South Park reference.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Well, you're looking good. If we were trick-or-treating, we'd all get a bunch of candy. Don't you miss trick-or-treating? I was just thinking yesterday about I have the memory of the last year I actually went trick-or-treating.
So do I.
There's always that because you sort of like recognize in the moment, this is probably the last year I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a bittersweet bummer moment in like, I don't know, early, maybe like 5th grade, 6th, I don't know what grade exactly, but somewhere in there. 4th, 5th grade.
7th, maybe 8th.
7th?
Was it 8th?
If you really go for it. If you really
old?
Yeah, maybe. I think I went to parties by then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We went to Catholic school. We were very sheltered.
Yeah. We didn't know what a party was until like
so I did
sleepover party.
I did a little bit of trick-or-treating this year. I was staying over a friend's house who has an 8-year-old kid, and instead of trick-or-treating because of COVID, they did reverse trick-or-treating, where we went house to house delivering candy.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was like nice and chilly, and I had my hoodie on. I was like, oh, I remember what East Coast falls. This is awesome.
Yeah, my neighborhood, you guys have both been to this neighborhood.
Yeah.
For being in a city, it really feels sort of suburban, and it does usually, maybe not this year, but it gets pretty hyped for Halloween. And just walking around the neighborhood is fun. You see a lot of fun things. I really love this year. I think some people are doing like candy shoots just to kind of slide candy down to like socially distance Halloween. I almost thought about doing that just to like be able to toss candy out my balcony out into the street for people.
Life finds a way.
Yeah.
Halloween finds a way. Okay, well, this episode we're doing something kind of a little fun and different, and it was Chris's idea. So, Chris, go ahead and explain what we are going to do today.
So obviously, 2020. So people aren't really, at least people I don't know, are not dressing up and going out. I thought it'd be fun for us to dress up, record a video, and pick our favorite, maybe not even our favorite horror genres, but pick a horror genre we like, and then talk about our favorite 5 movies from that genre.
Yeah,
which was
like a top
really
5
hard
list.
for me to do.
In order. I'm assuming top 1 to 5 would be like in order. Right,
yeah.
Of how much you like it. How much you like
number
it.
one is
one being the best.
Your favorite.
Yeah.
So we each picked a genre, a subgenre
of horror.
There's a lot of them. Yeah, there's a lot of choices, and it's interesting. I think that they do say something about our own personal taste, as so many of our picks do.
Yeah.
What genre we picked?
I think so. Yeah.
But let's jump into it. Like, Chris, why don't you go first? I'm curious to see what you picked.
All right, I picked zombie movies.
Classic.
I don't think it's even my favorite horror genre, but it is kind of the one that
fits your costume.
Yeah, it does fit my costume, but it was kind of the one that like spoke to me as a young age, that I loved horror. I remember watching, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, 2 VHS tapes because the movie's really long, at sleepovers when we were in grammar school, and things like Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, and I was really into Evil Dead as a kid and things like that. And I know now it's so easy to roll your eyes at zombie movies because it's been done to death. Ha 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 ha.
We'll cut that out too.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot of good stuff in the genre. And I will say this, and I'm not tooting my own horn, you're probably never going to see a top 5 like this from anyone else.
Okay.
Okay.
You'll never find another
Hot
person
take.
that has the same top 5 as I do.
Okay.
So without further ado,
let's do it.
All right, number 5. This is a doozy. It's Uwe Boll's House of the Dead.
Oh, you went there. You had to go.
And
with
I see
Uwe Boll.
Zach's reaction, and I will say, I think this film deserves to stand with Troll 2, Birdemic, The Room as one of the greatest bad movies of all time.
Okay.
It is, I think, one of the funniest movies, unintentionally, but it's hilarious.
Okay.
It is pure trash, like total trash. It's based on a Sega arcade game, and which they will remind you of repeatedly.
Most great movies are based on.
What?
Which most great movies are based on Sega arcade games.
Arcade light gun games. Which they intersplice footage of the games in the movie just in case you forgot it's based on a game.
Wow.
That's a thing.
For those not familiar with Uwe Boll and his body of work, do you like Sam? I'm not sure if you're familiar with Uwe Boll.
I've never seen this or know who that is.
I mean, he's an awful German filmmaker who sort of his whole shtick was buying up cheaply the rights to these video games, churning them out with German tax credit money.
Yeah, he found a German
pocketing like a lot of it. I'm sure
it was a tax loophole that he was using in order to fund these movies.
Yeah,
and then because of that money, he was able to bring in a certain number of U.S.
big
actors.
Names. Ben
Kingsley was a big one that would come in.
Wow.
Ben Kingsley was in Blood Rain. Jason Statham was in Dungeon Siege. Christian Slater was in Alone in the Dark, and he would just get these. He would get these big budgets, which even today are kind of large for the kind of movies he made, and get all these recognizable actors and just churn out these awful films. That I think it's almost like the movie The Producers. You're making it to fail, knowing you're going to profit from it somehow. But he's retired from filmmaking now.
Oh, thank God!
He made many films, and in fact, I think he started to branch out a little bit at the end of his career and do other things. But he also made, didn't you say, Chris, that he made a movie based on the game Postal?
Yeah,
or a
that's
movie
probably his
called
best
Postal
film.
Oh.
It's
that was
actually
actually halfway decent.
it's legitimately funny.
Yeah, and also I think he did. There was a time when there was a celebrity boxing.
Yeah,
TV show.
he challenged critics to box him because they
Yeah.
didn't like his films. He
And
said,
so he did
I'll
that.
kick your ass in the ring.
All right.
And he did, because he was a boxer growing
Wait,
up.
there was a critic that was willing to box him?
There's a documentary called Raging Bull about the
Oh my
whole
God,
that's
situation.
amazing.
And he boxed all these critics.
Okay.
Anyway.
Check him out. Check his work out. We went to go
Okay.
see. Oh, fun fact. Chris and I went with our friends in high school to go see one of his movies. I think
Blood
it was
Rain.
Blood Rain. And the theater, just by chance, played the reels out of order.
Yeah.
So we watched, they flipped reel 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So we didn't realize it till pretty late in the movie. We thought that Uwe Boll was just doing some really wacky playing with time. And it wasn't until later.
Having
we
seen
realized
the
that
movie in its normal order, it didn't make any more sense. So
it didn't matter.
it didn't really matter.
It's just crazy because you don't need a mess up like that to ruin a Uwe Boll movie.
Yeah.
He does it on his own and just made it even worse.
All right.
I do find his work fascinating, and he's quite a character. I was gonna pull out his autograph that I have, but I couldn't find it in time.
I found you when I went to Germany when I was in college. I think I found you a special release of an Uwe Boll movie.
Yeah, you got me the uncut version of Alone in the Dark,
You know it.
starring Christian Slater.
only available in Germany.
Yeah.
All right. So
All right, so back to the movie.
Okay.
We spent far too much time on Uwe Boll.
I mean, you got to set that guy up. You really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
It's just hilariously bad. It's got terrible techno music. The cast is awful. But if you watch it with a group, which I saw it in theaters with a couple people, and
Yeah.
I've seen it numerous times, it's hilarious.
yeah. Those kinds of bad good movies are
Yeah.
good bad movies are
Yeah.
great with a group of people.
And it's
For
got
sure.
it's got Jürgen Prochnow, the German
Okay.
actor
Okay.
from Das Boot. He plays Captain Kirk.
Oh.
He's the captain of a boat taking these 30-something ravers to an island for a rave.
Oh yeah.
So they make all these Captain Kirk jokes. There's a scene on the boat where they're getting besieged by zombies, and he shoots the same zombie maybe 6 times in different spots. It's like whack-a-mole.
Oh yeah, I can remember us pointing out that you can see the trampolines that the zombies jump
this
off
movie
of.
is full of errors. It's full of gaffes. It's god awful. It rips off the Matrix at one point.
Oh.
When they
Sounds
get to
great.
the titular House of the Dead, it's a shack in the middle of the woods. But when they get inside, it's this giant Resident Evil style mansion, which makes no sense. They had no budget to build a mansion.
Mm-hmm.
It also has the single greatest line of dialogue of all time, and that
Okay.
is the main character asking the villain why he wants to be immortal, and his words are "to live forever." So that's why it's my number 5.
Excellent. Okay.
All right.
Four on the list.
Number 4 is a movie that I don't think many people have seen or heard of. It's a 1998 Hong Kong zombie film called Biozombie. And the director's name is Wilson Yip. He went on to direct the Ip Man films with Donnie Yen. So this is a low budget movie. It's basically a knockoff of Dawn of the Dead. But he sort of rose up through the ranks, and he's like one of the top filmmakers in Hong Kong now. And the reason this is on my list is because the handle Crazy Bee that I use is from this film.
I was gonna say it sounds familiar. Yeah.
And I've used it for probably 21 years now.
Mhm.
So this movie is near and dear to my heart. It's a lot of fun. It takes place in a mall in Hong Kong. The zombies are created by some tainted soft drink. And, the 2 main characters are these low rent triad thugs that are selling bootleg movies in the mall. And it's just really charming. It's got a super downer ending, which is weird because most of the movie's a comedy. But it's a lot of fun. It's hard to
Nice.
find. I don't know if you'd be able to find it very easily. It was released on DVD here, but it's worth checking out. And
All right.
that's number 4. Number 3, I'm sticking to Asia here. It's a 2015 movie called I Am a Hero. This movie is legitimately great. The plot is that the main character is a manga artist. The zombie apocalypse starts in Tokyo, and it's very hard to own a gun in Japan. You have to get licenses. You have to have it checked yearly. You have to have it locked. He's a hunter, so he has a gun. He's like the only person that has a gun around, and he meets a younger girl. He kind of protects her, and then eventually meets these other survivors that are holed up in sort of an outlet mall, and they're staying on the roof. And what I love about this film, besides kind of the odd thing of only one guy has a gun, which you expect zombie movies, everyone's got weapons or guns, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But the cool thing about this movie is the zombies themselves are incredibly unique. They maintain this whatever like personality trait they had as a human, like the strongest one is what they kind of maintain as zombies. So
interesting.
Yeah, at the end of the film, there's this zombie that's kind of watching everyone on the rooftops. He's a one of those hurdle jumpers.
Okay.
And he's sort of set in this motion of just jumping the zombie, and he'll just jump and he'll land on the ground and kind of flop and flail. And at the end, like he does it so much that his head is caved in from it. And just at the end of the movie, they're in this tunnel, and it's just this, I'm going to spoil it, but it's this insane sequence where the main character has his gun. He's got very few bullets left, and that's the cool thing about this movie too. He's counting all of his ammo, and he knows exactly how many zombies he can shoot. So they've basically taken out this entire tunnel full of zombies, and then you see the long distance runner hurdle jumper zombie appear, and he gets in that running stance, and like the shit's about to go down, and he's got like a few bullets left, and he keeps missing, and it is awesome. The manga it's based on is really cool.
So it's in a mall, you said? It's another one that takes place in a sort of mall.
It's an outlet mall, so not
it's just
like
because it's
not
funny
like a Dawn of the Dead sort of big interior mall.
Right, because the other one was a mall-related one too. It's like how often zombie movies are in malls.
And I think a lot of that is just the influence of Dawn of the Dead and how
that's probably
it's got to be commentary on something, because zombie movies are always commentary about
mindless consumer.
Also, it's like it's a great place to hole up. You have clothing, you have food, until that runs out.
Yeah, that would be a good spot. I always thought, whenever I think about zombie apocalypses, which apparently is frequently,
especially now,
a movie studio would also be a cool place. To wait it out, because there's a lot of space, there's a lot of security around it, and there's oftentimes tons of things that could be weapons, a lot of heavy equipment that could be weapons, props, and a lot of places to hide, and a lot of food.
And you're not sure if this is a character or a zombie. Like that would be, especially if it were like the set of Walking Dead. Like
there's a pitch for a movie,
a
real zombie apocalypse during a zombie movie being made.
That's actually sort of is a movie.
Oh well.
It's called One Cut of the Dead. It's another Japanese
you win
film.
some, you lose some.
I was gonna say there's got to be something that did that.
Yeah,
it's too easy. All right.
So number 2.
Okay.
Number 2 is an Italian film called Cemetery Man.
You were right. I have not. This is a list that no one else has created.
I haven't even heard of any of these movies.
The Italian title is Della Morte dell'Amore, and it's from 1994. The director's name is Michela Soavi. He is actually a protege of Dario Argento, and he's done quite a few really cool films of his own. But this one, I saw this on the cable channel Bravo when I was like really young, and it's a really quirky and weird movie. It's not so much a zombie like apocalypse movie as it is sort of like an existential dark comedy, because the zombies are just kind of there. And Rupert Everett plays the the groundskeeper of a cemetery, but he knows that every time someone's buried, they're going to come back. So he's basically there to re-kill every zombie that happens. But yeah,
So wait, this is just like Pet Cemetery.
a little bit, and
Okay.
yeah, and it's really weird. It's pretty funny. It's got an insane ending.
Okay.
That I won't give away, but I think everyone should check it out.
Nice.
Again, it's hard to find.
Good luck, everybody.
I have a Japanese
Chris wants to
Blu-ray
just
of it.
rub it in that you
Wait.
can't find this movie.
Well, it's a shame too because it is so good, and it was released on DVD here. But I mean, Rupert Everett is the star, and he's kind of he's a name that people
Yeah.
recognize.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, all the other actors are Italian and dubbed. But yeah, it's another movie. It's got really cool, unique zombies, and it's weird. It's out there.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Okay.
All
number
right.
one.
Number one.
Number one.
Number one is a film that I watched recently. I've seen it numerous times. It's the Korean film Train to Busan. And
Heard of
Okay.
this one?
every time I watch this movie, I think to myself, man, this is not only a legitimately great zombie movie, this is a legitimately great movie, and possibly like one of my favorite films of all time.
Wow.
It's just what I love about Train to Busan is how good the characters are. You know, you get like the stock characters in zombie movies, the ones that like you don't care about, or something like a House of the Dead where you don't care about anyone. But Train to Busan, it like really spends its time like building these characters quickly to where you do care about them. It's set in the one location, the train, and the main guy, he's got a really good arc. The daughter, the actress that plays his daughter is excellent. You know, it's hard to find like good child actors anywhere really. And just all the side characters. There's a baseball team on the train, and the lead baseball player is the son from Parasite. I forget his name right now.
Oh, cool.
But
That's
yeah,
a great movie.
the cast is really good. Don Lee is his Hollywood name because he's going to be in a Marvel film soon. He's a great Korean actor. He's this really burly dude, and he plays expecting father. His wife's pregnant, and he's just a total badass. And just the things that they do with the zombies, it's pretty unique. They have like their own kind of spin on it. The zombies are pretty brutal, but they have, you know, they can't see in the dark, for example. So they take advantage of that. And it's got like the Snowpiercer thing where they're in a tunnel, knowing they can proceed past the zombies in the train. And it just creates this really good tension. And I've seen this movie maybe 10 times, and it's still tense, like every time I watch it.
It sounds kind of like Snowpiercer with zombies.
It is a little
Fair.
bit.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, but you know, it's set like the present day, and it's not like this
So
weird
not
sci-fi.
post-apocalyptic.
Right.
Right.
It's present apocalyptic.
Yeah, and there's just it's super clever. There's a lot of clever stuff that they do in it. A sequel did come out this week called Peninsula. It's more of a spin-off. It's more of a spin-off than a sequel, because none of the characters return. It's like Fast and the Furious with zombies and Mad Max mixed in. So it's the same director, but a very different feeling film. I liked it, but I would probably never revisit it as many times as Train to Busan. Which is excellent. I think everyone should watch it. It's on Netflix, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Or Shudder.
So this one's accessible.
Yeah.
It's accessible. You
Easier
can easily
accessible.
see this.
And so I don't think a single U.S. domestic film made your list. Chris.
Just House of the Dead, but that's technically a Canadian production.
Canadian, German.
And I mean, I feel bad. I
Venture.
had like 25 movies on my list, but you know,
I mean,
I'm a weirdo.
You gotta pick, but you gotta go with your heart.
Yeah.
In these matters.
I saw Night of the Living Dead recently, and that kind of blew me away. I was never into horror, like I've said many times, and especially like indie horror. And that movie, I was like, clearly incredibly low budget and dated, but it still has a great story, and the characters are very interesting, and it is almost like, oh, this is what like The Walking Dead wanted to be, but like couldn't quite get
interesting.
there.
Yeah,
That's how I took it. But
Yeah.
classic.
They are
Let's-
remaking it again. by the
yeah,
way.
of course. Yeah, I saw the original, but the black and white one.
Yeah.
So should we move on to
Let's
Yeah.
move
Sammer's
on.
top 5?
So I love psychological thrillers, psychological anything. I see a therapist, so psych is all over, all about my life.
Mhm.
So I picked psychological horrors, and I guess it's kind of up in the air what that technically means, because I guess being scared is a psychological phenomenon anyway.
Yeah.
But I think these are, clearly psych horror. So number 5, American Psycho. It's in the name.
Nice.
And you could argue that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not horror; it's more just a bit of thriller. But I think it's horror. I mean, he's a monster.
It's kind of
He's
like
just-
a
Yeah.
slasher movie.
Yeah,
In a
slasher
way.
movies, monster. Stars Christian Bale. I'm sure both of you have seen this movie. It's
Oh, I love
Mhm.
American
it's a
Psycho.
classic. Yeah, directed by Mary Herron, who I don't think I've ever seen any other movies that she's made.
Oh, here's a
Which is
fun
surprising.
fact here.
Yeah.
The writer of American Psycho, I think her name's Guinevere Turner. She wrote Uwe Boll's Blood Rain.
Okay.
Interesting.
It comes full circle.
Well,
Full circle. Yeah.
Yeah, so this movie is all internal monologue with Christian Bale, and he is a Wall Street stockbroker. I can't remember what it is. He just works in Wall Street, and he's just all about money, all about appearance. He works out, he does all these face masks and stuff,
Set in the
And
80s.
and it's just like he's just going insane trying to keep up with Wall Street and like the whole world around it, and ends up just killing people, killing dogs, killing homeless people just to kind of feel again. And there's just so many one-liners, and there's like references to like Huey Lewis and Phil Collins. He's just insane, and like I love that about it. And I think that's his biggest movie. Like I know when he was younger he did Newsies, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
But I think this is what
People
put
love
him.
that.
Yeah, this movie put him on the map as like, oh, this guy, he's a real actor.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
there are
what's up.
some really iconic scenes in that movie, and it's like the
For sure.
juxtaposition of him like talking about Huey Lewis in the news
Yeah.
while murdering someone is
Putting
crazy.
the plastic down everywhere.
Right, and like
I mean,
flexing while he's having sex. It is just, and honestly, like I think it's a feminist movie about toxic misogyny. Like, and I know I bring that up a lot, but I think that's
you really you sense the toxic misogyny.
yeah, I'm really good.
I mean,
at
it's
that.
written by a woman. The screenplay.
It is. It's
was,
directed
not the
by a
original
woman. Yeah,
novel,
yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right, and it is a satire too. And people don't
Yeah.
think it's funny. Don't probably voted for Trump.
Okay.
Sorry.
November 3rd, vote.
Yeah, go out there, or mail it in and drop it off. I mean,
No, don't mail
why
it in
wait
at this
long?
point.
Oh,
Everyone's- at this point, if you're watching this right now,
Do not
don't mail it in.
Yeah,
Take it in person.
yeah.
Drop it in the ballot drop box.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
PSA complete.
What have I
Uh,
started?
So number 4 I have, which I it could be several horrors, but I picked Rosemary's Baby, directed by
Nice.
Roman Polanski, who isn't a great person, but he made a great movie once or twice.
Yeah. It's interesting that Rosemary's Baby didn't come up in any of our horror film discussions this whole month until right now.
Yeah.
It's a classic, and we all kind of looked past it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember thinking about picking it for my horror, but I was like, well, this has been talked to death, so why bring it up again? But it is a fantastic movie, and I think the real scary parts are the Rosemary going into madness about how other people are treating her, and it's only until the end you realize she was right in all of this. But you don't know, and this whole movie, you're in the dark about what's actually going on. Is she going crazy? Is everyone else lying to her? And that's the shit that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, number 3, newer movie, Get Out, which I think is
Oh, yeah.
that was the movie where I was like, oh, maybe I should give a horror genre another chance, because this is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. And just, the idea of like, it's set up as like, oh, he's going to meet her parents, and he's a black guy and she's a white woman, but her parents love Obama, and it's like, just, oh, that's a simple story, and it just turns into chaos, and they really want to take a part of him into like another guy. I don't want to reveal anything, but it just turns into madness, and it's all like with a smile and a handshake. That really creeped me out.
That's a great movie.
Totally.
I like, because of that movie, and probably Key and Peele, but like any movie Jordan Peele makes now, I'm probably going to be lined up to see.
Yeah,
even stuff he produces.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, his iteration of Twilight Zone wasn't great, but I still gave it a shot. Mm-hmm. I think it has some qualities that are good, but overall, it's never gonna beat Rod Serling's Twilight.
Right.
So.
I mean, Jordan Peele, it's crazy. Like, he, in the matter of basically 2 movies, created this brand for himself. Like, everyone knows what they're going to get. When they're going to see something with Jordan Peele's name on it now. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. And I can't, he didn't direct it, but I can't wait for Candyman.
Candyman.
We would have been seeing right now, but COVID, and now it's coming out next year.
Also, it's an aesthetic thing. Like, he has an aesthetic of his own. It's kind of hard to describe what it is, but like it is getting to the point where what you can like recognize one of his movies just from the visuals and the score. Usually, you can really
there's a lot of hip hop in it, and it's also it has a lot of influences for other movies, and he wears it on his sleeve, so you'll just see it like, oh, that's clearly from another movie, especially during Us, which is another one of his movies that I'm always on the fence on. I just think about it too much, and I'm like, I'm not sure if this is great, but it is something I'll always remember. There's just so many references to Thriller, Chud, and he has like, and even in Get Out, there's this part where the girl is, separating her Fruit Loops with the white milk, as just to like show that metaphor of like colored should be separated from the white milk, colored candy, colored cereal separated from the white. It's just like that in itself is just interesting, and he does that all over the movie. Sometimes it's too much, in my opinion, but it's still a great director
for sure.
So number 2, which I think is people's all-time favorite horror, The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick, and I think might be the only Stephen King movie that's good.
This is interesting. We had this conversation via text.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting because that's the one that King hates.
Yeah, and I get that it's, it's like far from the actual source material, but I just think the movie is so scary and so interesting, and the shots are beautiful, and like he makes this mansion look creepy yet beautiful, and you just like, I still want to visit the hotel, but I don't know if I could spend the night there. It's just, again, and I think it's about alcoholism or it's writer's block. I mean, you can always, there's so many different, or it's like there is a demonic presence in the hotel, but there's so many takes on it, like, and I think all of them are right. What is The Shining? And then the ability for the kid to read minds, and it's just a crazy movie, and I think people just should watch it if they haven't. And if you're too scared, bite the bullet. Maybe watch it during the day.
Watch it with friends.
It's iconic. It's a classic.
Yeah. There's so many references. You'll probably watch it and be like, "Oh, that's where The Simpsons got it."
Right. The Shining. I totally remember that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then, any other things about The Shining?
What hasn't been said about The Shining?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's interesting how some people side with King on it and some people don't. And I know you didn't like Dr. Sleep.
Yeah,
but, I liked it. I think The Shining's great too. Like, I have no no love for the original story, where I'm like, screw the Kubrick movie. It's like a classic, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, Doctor Sleep for me, just like I think it just took too long to get where it was going. Like once they got to the hotel, I was like, oh, that was the kind of the point of the movie. Like that's how you bring it all together. And it's just, I was like, you know what, I'm not. This took too long to get there. And it's the same guy, Mike Flanagan, who did Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor, which people love, and I tried to watch.
Currently watching Bly Manor.
Yeah, I couldn't get into. So maybe it's just me. Maybe me and him just don't see eye to eye for whatever reason.
Maybe.
And that just happened. So
Yeah.
finally, and this is again top 5 horror movies of all time, Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh yeah.
I haven't been saying where you can find these movies, but these are all over the place. You can probably find them easily.
Yeah.
But Psycho,
Unlike Chris's, these are all very available.
yeah.
Sorry. Bootleg them.
Yeah. This is a black and white movie, although it could have been color, but Hitchcock wanted black and white, I think because of the blood. He this is the first movie where he had this star, I can't even remember her name now. Does anyone
Janet
remember?
Leigh.
Janet Leigh being the in the first hour of the movie, half hour of the movie, she's the star of the movie, and then spoiler alert, she dies. And then the movie continues, and that's kind of where the real horror comes in.
That's kind of crazy. I hadn't made the connection, but that totally, I feel like Scream took a cue.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All those years later, killing off their basically biggest name actor.
Oh, Drew Barrymore. Yeah.
Yeah, in the first part.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Smart.
But yeah, so Hitchcock is masterful at suspense and circumventing your expectations. So this is like the one movie I haven't seen all of Hitchcock's movies. This is one of my favorites, but I wouldn't even say it's his best movie. And I think a lot of critics wouldn't say that, but this is his most memorable one. And I think it's because of how it affected the horror genre so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically a ride at Universal Studios still. It's that much in the culture.
Yeah.
Still.
Just seeing that. And then there's been spin-offs, the Bates Hotel, which I think I tried to watch and I just didn't continue. I think I liked it, but I just didn't continue for whatever
people
reason.
loved that.
Plus the movie had multiple sequels for
there's
some
a
reason.
Vince Vaughn basically
shot for shot.
I'm not sure why anyone would ever want to do that.
It was just like a experiment, a very costly experiment. I don't know why.
But again,
purely
like
the filmmaker's sake.
Yeah. And Scream, like you said, and there's so many other movies that are influenced by Psycho and reference it. It does that thing where you kill the main character early and the whole movie shifts, which is really cool.
Yeah. That's a good top 5, man.
That's a
real good top 5.
I mean, none of them are deep cuts, but I think they're all pretty great.
Well done. All right, so I guess I'm up, and I chose a horror comedy for my top 5, and you know what? I think I chose that because it happens to be just a subgenre that I like a whole lot. I realized that you can kind of categorize them. They're very common for like midnight movies or like stuff you'd see at like a sleepover, like when you're a kid, and those kind of movies. I don't know. I've always responded really well to them. Also, I feel like horror and comedy, they share certain elements, like certain, like they're both invoking a very specific emotion, like, getting people to laugh and getting people to be scared. I feel like there's some commonalities there.
It's like setting up a joke and then having a punchline, or setting up the tension and then having that scare at the end.
Yeah, they are very similar.
It's almost the same.
So it's, I think like combining them is like you double down on having to do all of those things, and do them well. And it's, I've happened to work on both comedies and horror in the past, and they're also they're really fun to put together. And it's like, as a filmmaker, you have to have fun with them in order to like sell either the comedy or the horror, and kind of go all in on it. And So I think when those are done well together, they're really good movies. So I have a top 5. It's kind of an interesting mix of deep, maybe one deep or two deep cuts, and then some classics. I'm gonna go a little bit fast because we are over. So I'm gonna go kind of fast. Many of these you probably have heard of. So my number 5 is actually one that Chris has already mentioned, Dead Alive, which is kind of a nostalgia pick. It's an older movie. It's something that Chris and I and our friends watched a bunch as kids.
Made one of our friends sick.
It did. I was going to say, so it's a zombie film directed by Peter Jackson. So I believe he shot it in New Zealand.
Yeah. Yep.
And it is just, I think at the time, if not still, is considered the bloodiest movie, I think, ever.
I think it's been overtaken, but it is like one of the bloodiest. At the time it was, for sure.
And it's like, there's so many memorable moments in that particular movie. There's a lot of gross out comedy. There's a great one-liner from a priest where he says, "I kick ass for the Lord," which is before he beats up a bunch of zombies.
Insane low budget practical effects.
The big finale is the lead character literally mows down an army of zombies with a lawnmower. So
nice.
So and I think on several occasions watching it as a kid, our friends had to step away because it was grossing them out too much. So that one holds a special place in my heart, and it's early Peter Jackson. Speaking of which, my number 4 pick is also Peter Jackson.
I was gonna say, like, two Peter Jackson.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's The Frighteners, which is it is a Michael J. Fox starring movie. Who's the bad guy in that, Chris? You mentioned it yesterday.
Jake Busey.
Yeah, Jake Busey. Yes.
Yeah.
So the cast is pretty great, and it's basically sort of a comedic take on like haunting poltergeist kind of movie where Michael J. Fox's character can see ghosts, but he's friends with them, and he basically uses them to help scam people out of like getting rid of ghosts in houses.
Yeah.
Again, like the visual effects for the time are actually pretty great. And it's just a really fun movie. Like the ghost characters are really fun, but it's got a lot of genuine scares too. Like Jake Busey's bad guy is pretty scary. So that's a fun one that's sort of overlooked and sort of also underappreciated, I feel like. It is,
yeah. And it's I think it's a great Halloween movie too.
Someone else mentioned that to me this week. And
there you go.
See The Fright, and I was like, oh, okay. Maybe this is it's just a blind spot for me.
It was Peter Jackson's first Hollywood film.
The early Peter Jackson movie.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
Of course, starring Simon Pegg, and it's an Edgar Wright movie. And
that was number 6 on my list.
That's number 6? Oh,
yeah.
just barely missed the cut.
I mean, if I was being serious, it would have been in the top 5.
And I mean, Edgar Wright's an amazing filmmaker. He pretty much invented his own style of comedy out of the trilogy of movies that started with Shaun of the Dead. It's like there's some really scary moments in it. There's some very funny moments. There's even some touching moments in it. And it really it did like catapult his career and the actors' careers, and just a classic zombie movie. It's really pretty special because I think it takes its zombie stuff seriously, but also takes the comedy seriously.
Yeah.
It totally
does them both really well.
When that one guy gets torn apart, I forget his name, Dylan Moran, the guy with the glasses. Yeah. It's like this horrific moment that actually is shocking, despite the fact that it's a comedy. Like, you actually are scared for that character.
Yeah. But then the sequence I always think of is when they're beating up the zombies to the music in that one scene.
Yeah.
Great scene. Great choreographed fight scene.
Yeah.
So then my number 2 is What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, man.
Another great filmmaker.
What's that?
Another great filmmaker.
Right. Yeah. Another great filmmaker. So this was Taika Waititi. Also stars from Flight of the Conchords, Jermaine Clement. And the movie is great. The TV show, by the way, is also great in its own right. And if you have a chance to watch the show on FX, it's very special. It's a great show.
Is Taika in this show, or is he like
He
involved
makes
at all?
in the movie.
occasional appearances. He's the
Right.
star of the movie.
Right,
And
but he's not in the show.
Well, he's not a star of the show, but like over the course of the 2 seasons, him and Jermaine Clement make like appearances.
Okay, cool.
Don't
but
all,
both
all
casts are
three
great.
of them, right?
Oh, you're right. I think all
Yeah.
3 of them do appear. Got a lot of great cameos, but there's a lot of great cameos in the movie as well. Again, sort of like catapulted Taika Waititi into like the larger like filmmaking universe and into the public eye. It's just a great horror film, and it's a for those that don't know, it's a mockumentary following around vampires and what they do in their everyday life when they're not terrifying people.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, my number 1 classic, Beetlejuice. I mean,
Michael
really, how
Keaton.
could it be anything else? I mean, it's a classic Michael Keaton. I mean, it's one of Michael Keaton's like best roles ever, and it's Tim Burton, early Tim Burton, and it's interesting to see it now. It's such a unique vision of a horror film. Like, he invented all of these kind of creatures and characters that you hadn't seen before, and I know he'd made things prior to it, but he really like honed his style, and like the culmination of that was Beetlejuice, and like the cast is amazing, and the practical effects are amazing. The comedy is really funny. Catherine O'Hara, right? Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As the mom, and she's hilarious.
She's from Schitt's Creek. If you guys
right,
watch
she's
that.
from. She's currently just finished up Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Comedy legend. As well as the supporting cast is all great.
Alec
Baldwin.
Baldwin.
I mean, Alec Baldwin, a young, fit
Skinny
Alec
Alec
Baldwin.
Yeah,
Yeah, almost
Gina Davis.
unrecognizable. Yeah, and Gina Davis, young Gina Davis.
It took me a long time to realize Michael Keaton was Beetlejuice, or to even realize who Michael Keaton was.
Right.
Yeah.
I just thought it was Beetlejuice, you know?
It's like, whoa,
When I was a
you
kid.
mean Batman?
Is Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice?
It's crazy.
What? I mean, it just goes to show like how amazing he can be as a character
Yeah.
actor.
They need to
Just
make another
completely
one.
not
Just
himself.
make another one.
Fun fact, when I was like 7 years old, I wrote a sequel to Beetlejuice. It's
Just
8
Oh,
pages.
send it to
wow.
Burton.
It was 8 pages and it was amazing.
Send it to Burton.
8-page movie. Interesting.
Is it
Well, I
Winona
was-
Ryder
I was
as the
like 8
the
years
parent?
Probably. I'll dig it up.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of a horror comedy, it has to be number 1. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So that's my top 5. There's a lot of
Yeah,
them, but those are
great.
my favorites.
Yeah.
So we got to move right along to the next thing,
do it.
which is announcing our topic for next week's episode. And
sort of
it
horror
was Sammer's
bending,
pick.
but it's not horrorful. It's not scary, but it could be if it actually happened to you. But we are doing body swap movies, and we want to be particular with this one. It's not necessarily someone growing into somebody's something else. Like, for instance, Big wouldn't be a body swap because he's just getting
Right.
older.
Who's
and
he
he's
swapping
not
with?
swapping with anything. But something like Freaky Friday would be one because they're switching bodies.
Yes, that's a pure body swap.
Yeah,
The
One of
purist.
the purists on this next episode.
yeah. And so, are we saying our picks now?
Let's do it.
So I picked a cult classic, never released in theaters, Wish Upon a Star, starring Katherine Heigl and Allison
Danielle
something.
Harris.
Danielle Harris, sorry. They're sisters and they swap bodies, and it's hilarious.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
What else do you need to know?
I picked John Woo's Face Off. And, I mean...
Somebody had to.
You've seen Face Off.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage, John Travolta. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah.
And I picked something totally out there for me. It's actually a film called Your Name, which came out in the roughly 2015. And it's an anime film. It's a gender swap movie.
Yeah.
Something that I wasn't really familiar with until I started looking up titles for this selection. And I'm really glad I did, because it's a really good movie, and it takes the body swap genre into some very unique directions.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, it probably is my favorite of the 3 movies.
It's the most thought provoking. It's got a lot
Yeah,
of
for
it's got
sure.
a lot of like stuff, like
Come on.
heady stuff happening.
Face Off.
Yeah.
I mean, Face Off's got a lot of heady stuff going on too.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are our 3 picks. Watch them if you can.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get into some nice in-depth discussion about it next Monday.
Yep.
So Sammer, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us?
So you can find us on Twitter under a few good movies P, and then on Instagram under a few good movies pod, on Facebook under a few good movies pod, and then you can check out our YouTube channel, a few good movies.
So you can do that.
Podcast.
So you can hope you're looking right now, so you can see our costumes that we
Yeah, you can see
put
us
together painstakingly.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, this has been great. Everybody have a happy Halloween. Be
Happy Halloween.
safe
Stay safe.
and have fun. And vote.
And vote.
And we will see you next time on A Few Good Movies.
See ya.
Bye.